Hello, my name is Richard Kahn, and this is my final presentation for the Psychology and Theology class at Colorado Christian University. Out of the options that we were given for our presentation, I chose to compare and contrast Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development to the process of Christian maturity. In this presentation, I plan to explain who Piaget was, what his studies meant in his cognitive development theory, with an explanation of that based on the four principles that many psychologists look at in developing what is called Christian maturity. Jean Piaget is a famous psychologist from Switzerland. He was very well known in his community for the studies he did with children into their young adolescent into adulthood through his four cognitive development stages. His cognitive development stages um, are sensory motor stage. This was the stage where he would look at people from birth till about 2 years old. He would really try to understand what got them to drive their actions or reactions to something through their parents or siblings or other people around them. The pre-operational stage was from 2 years old to 7 years old. Again, he would study their movements, their reactions, the things that they did, how they began to talk, and the way they reacted in comparison with other children. The third stage is the concrete operational stage. This is from ages 7 to 11 years of age. These children were looked at, and again, many more factors would come into studying 7 through 11-year-olds to because they begin to have external stimulus that kind of can change their reactions or change their actions. And then the final stage is the formal operational stage. In the formal operational stage, we look at 11-year-olds through adolescent into adulthood. And that's a very deep and diverse stage of life for anybody. There's so many changes that are going on. They're dealing with puberty and with hormones and many changes that come along with that stage. So what is cognitive development? Cognitive development is the construction of thought processes, including remembering, problem solving, decision making, and how these things are affected from childhood into adulthood. This graph that you're looking at here shows basically the same thing that I just explained about the age groups that Piaget studied and how he put them into those groups. Like I said, the last stage, the formal operational stage, is a stage that is has so much more to cover because of the time frame and the window that it's given. You're looking at from 11 years old till possibly even death, and so many things happen to us in that time frame. The sensory motor stage, as seen on the graph, is the shortest stage of his study. So what is Christian maturity? If we're going to compare Christian maturity to the cognitive development of Piaget's work, we have to be able to look at what is Christian maturity. So Christian maturity allows for taking responsibility of oneself, but not at the expense of another person or in a way that seeks to chronically rescue others from the maturity process of growth in Christ. And that sounds very deep, and it is deep, but it can be broken down into simpler ways. And the simpler ways we can look at it is the four stages. The four stages are born again, learning, imitating, and reaching out to others. And if we try to compare these with the same, that's what we're to compare and contrast these stages with Piaget's stages. It's very interesting how someone can start Christian maturity process at 30 years old, but yet the same kind of circumstances and situations are present with the cognitive development theories. Here we are looking at the four sensory motor, or the four Piaget stages with the four Christian stages and how they kind of cross-reference. So sensory motor versus the born again stage. The main difference here is age. In comparison, they both deal with the first couple of years for an individual, and that can be stated in a way that it's like So if you're 0 to 2 in Piaget studying your mechanics and your verbiage and the things that you do in life, it can go the same way with your Christian maturity. If you're very new to Christianity, you're really kind of reaching out to try to see what others are doing, to try to understand what people are, how their reactions are, and how people react. So it's starting something new. Pre-operational versus learning. The difference here is that they're trying to build confidence, um, but they're very different. The learning phase is it's a learning phase for life. From ages 2 to 7, we're really trying to build uh, off of the things we've seen from our parents or our peers. And it's the same way with the learning stage for Christianity. You don't just jump right into it and all of a sudden you're a biblical scholar. You have to learn somewhere. The concrete operational versus the imitating. This is where we start to see people really try to like do something that they see somebody else doing in both ways. The concrete operational with 7 to 11-year-olds, you see many kids at that age group. They might make bad decisions because of something that they saw a peer do, or they might make good decisions based off of something they saw a peer do. And the same thing it goes for the Christian maturity imitating stage. At this point, we're trying to do things that we see others do. It might be lead a prayer group. It might be take responsibility within the church and serve. There's many different ways that can be expressed. The final stages are formal operational versus reaching out for others. And at this point, in the cognitive development theories, the formal operation is basically it's a lifetime growth. We've gotten to the point where we understand right from wrong. We understand our actions and the reason we have reactions. And at this point, we really have to look at, you know, we've been in the church. We've understood who Jesus is. We've understood how God works in our life. And this is the most critical point, and something that so many people fail to follow, is that at this point in life, you really have to reach out to others, because that's what Jesus was all about, and that's what the church should be all about. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that this gave a clear understanding of the 4 stages of Piaget's cognitive development relative to the 4 stages of Christian maturity. Thank you.